And that brings to a close questions for oral answer today. I call on Government Order of the Day for the address and reply debate.
Interrupted debate on the motion for an address and reply to His Excellency the Governor-General's speech from the throne and the amendment proposed thereto.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, I support the motion put forward by the Prime Minister and reject, of course, the amendment of David Shearer that we saw. This, of course, the party that thought that throwing money at beneficiaries would win them the latest election, that actually more money was the answer, and now are having to look at themselves and travel up and down this country to ask themselves what an absolutely poor idea it was. But they underestimated beneficiaries. And they did not vote for Labour because they could see the nonsense and actually the proposal that had been put through. Mr Speaker, they accuse me of beneficiary bashing on a regular basis, and I would say to them quite simply, I think to belittle people and believe that all they are worth is a lifetime of welfare with no support and opportunities in itself is the true definition of beneficiary bashing. To keep people down and believe that they should be on intergenerational welfare like we currently see without the policy and the actual attention that is needed to be put in place to make a fundamental difference to their lives, I think is negligent at its best, Mr Speaker, and that's where it is. Well, it is, Mr Speaker, and we hear the yells from the other side, and I understand that they don't particularly like me, but let's be honest, they don't particularly like any woman that gets ahead and that actually stands up for themselves and makes a difference. They will give you lip service that they do, but actually once those women start getting ahead and getting up there, it turns personal, it turns nasty, and it's how can we knock them down as quickly as possible. This side of the House is going to build them up. We will fundamentally believe in people's ability to have a lifetime and be worth more than what they get on welfare and what they get on benefit. We will make the hard decisions to actually help them and help them move ahead. We will believe that they are worth something. That means putting policies in place that are quite clear about expectations and obligations while also wrapping the right support around them. We hear a lot about youth. A lot of lip service about what could be and should be done and how they are disengaged and how they are lost. Well, here you have the most substantial policy in that area that this country has seen for the longest time. Taking 14,000 young people, actually getting service providers that are in the communities and know them, making sure we give them the information that they need so that they can work with these young people in their totality. Making sure that we actually change the law so schools report in real time where that young person is, how they've been lost, what their track record is, what their family history. Mix that with what MSD already knows, and we know a lot. The reality is, and as much as we don't like to admit it, we know a lot. So mix with that whether they've been in Housing New Zealand houses, whether or not there's been intergenerational welfare dependency, and you have a much clearer picture of whom is at high risk of that train wreck straight onto benefit at 18, and if you go on to benefit at 18, your likelihood of still being there in 10 years is higher than any other group in this country. So once we know more about them, what do we do with them? And that's the key question. So we give them more support. We wrap that service provider in the community around them. We not just give them the access to the training, which without being rude, is actually the easy part. We wrap that support that gets them there every day. We look at drug and alcohol issues. We look at family history. We help with the housing needs. We look at their budgeting. Yes, we then reward them. So when I looked at what the difference it could make for young people to have the budgeting skills to go forward in life, to actually be in education and training, and how do you sort of create those good choices, most times you look at it and you're punitive. What do we sanction? What do we take away? We've actually turned that around for the first time in years and said, how can we reward? Where are the incentives? $10 extra a week for each of those makes a huge difference. At the moment, we have girls as young as 16 turn up at work and income and go on a benefit and get literally $500 or $600 a week. And do you know what we do with them? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It should be a disgrace to ourselves that we turn them around putting that level of money in their pockets and not then give them the support that they so desperately need and deserve. They so desperately need and deserve. These girls aren't even in school. Yeah? You may not recognise them, Trevor Mallard, but they have not even completed school. They are most likely to have more children while they're on benefit. Do the hard stuff, Trevor Mallard. Stand up for these beneficiaries that actually deserve a life of opportunity in this country. Stand up and make a difference. Instead of adding to sickness beneficiaries, adding to those on the invalids, turning a blind eye to the hard decisions that need to be made in this country to move us ahead and see opportunity in front of them for real. But instead just give your little yells out. Make it personal. Make it personal. That's just not the way that will make a difference to these people that need us most. We currently have 16-year-olds who are on benefit and getting absolutely no support. They've not been supported by family. They are most certainly not being supported by government. That is going to change. We are going to wrap the right kind of support around them and see them have opportunities and see them have a future that is equal to anybody in this house, and they deserve nothing less from us. So see a service provider that takes them and works out their budget with them, works with them over time and recognises that their own education is so important. Do you know what the actual difference and how you can actually look at the future attainment of a child? Well, actually, you might like to learn this. So actually, if you know what the real key indicators are of how well a child will do in the future, it's how well the mother is doing. So if you base it on her educational achievement, her work experience, the age that she has that baby and future babies, then you are fundamentally making a difference to those children. You know, I had Dame Leslie Mack say to me, if you're serious about working with vulnerable children, look at the pipeline of the production of vulnerable children. And that's a bit controversial, and that's not always comfortable for people to go into. But I personally desperately worry about those young women that are having multiple children while on benefit. I, for one moment, do not underestimate how hard it is to live on the benefit. It is jolly hard, and at times can feel pretty much impossible. To continue to have children and to continue to see that in an intergenerational and systemic way is simply not something that we will sit back and say is okay in New Zealand. So we will stand up. So do we have, where is the evidence that actually a working parent, which is what we constantly hear from the opposition, is doing bad by their young children? Well, actually we see literally thousands of women and men with young children in this country that go to work and actually have a better life for them and those children. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to make some differences. We need to look differently at how we do it. What we've also announced in this first tranche is bringing widows and women alone. Now, I've been looking at that for the last 3 years because you do. If you're modernising a system, if you're modernising a whole system that in 1911 the widows' benefit was introduced, and for all the right reasons. For all the right reasons. I really acknowledge its introduction. I then acknowledge the actual introduction in the 1930s of the welfare system. I certainly look at the 1960s and recognise the Act as it was then. We're in 2012. The system simply needs to be modernised for a modern New Zealand. We have technology, we have social norms that are no longer the same of those times that were well gone. We need to look quite seriously at what it looks like now and what it looks like into the future. So yes, we can do better for women who are long-term on welfare. We can support them better, we can put more money. We hear the bleats of the other side. I will tell you that a minimum of $130 million a year will be spent in actually these changes, $130 million. This is not about cost cutting, this is not about shortcuts, this is actually putting the support and the services up front when they are needed most and making the hard decisions. I'm proud to be a minister in this John Key-led government, and I believe that the motions that he's put forward, that the difference that we will make and the announcements that we've made this week in welfare will fundamentally change people's lives for the better.
It's a vision.
Darian Fenton.
After that lecture from that minister, I rise to give my strong